Hi everyone, I'm going to talk about my project ChatGaia. Now, the Gaia Space Telescope has looked at billions of stars and put all the data in the Gaia Archive. In order to access the Gaia Archive, you have to learn a obscure language called ADQL, the Astronomical Data Query Language. Now, students and also senior astronomers understand that it's not that simple. I find myself reading through documentation about ADQL, forgetting column names, forgetting table names in Gaia. Just to get my data, I need to go through all this pain in writing a query. I found a unique solution to this that allows you to talk to the Gaia archive in natural language. And it uses ChatGPT, which I'm sure you've heard of. It's a neural network that can understand language because it has been trained on large chunks of the internet. And these chunks of the internet include, I believe, all the astronomy papers ever written, information about Gaia, how to write ADQL queries. And so I found that ChatGPT is pretty good at writing ADQL on its own. Now, I developed this application by making a custom version of ChatGPT. OpenAI, the company behind it, now lets you do this by providing English instructions to your custom version of ChatGPT to make it do whatever you want. So I let it know how to write ADQL queries, and I'll show you a quick example here to get started. I'm going to ask it to create a color magnitude diagram for stars within 50 parsecs. It's able to correctly get the columns needed and correctly say that 20 milliarc seconds is the parallax cutoff for stars within 50 parsecs. It provides a download link that lets you get the data from the Gaia archive. And after providing the data, it writes the Python code to produce the final plot for you. Now, note that the y-axis is absolute magnitude. It wrote the code to use parallax to convert to absolute magnitude, and it correctly flipped the y-axis, so brighter stars are on top. And if you are worried about what's in the code, you can check it yourself for every question that you ask ChatGaia. I very much recommend you check the code yourself because it does make mistakes. But it's pretty impressive, this capabilities. And here's what I provided. I provided English instructions. So this took 0 lines of code to make. I tell it to how to formulate ADQL queries. I give it a few examples of questions and their matching queries. I tell it how to access the Gaia archive, and I provide it a file containing every column name and table name in all of Gaia. Now, it's able to read this file and pick out the column names that is most relevant for your query. And I also tell it how to write Python or to generate plots with the provided data. Now let's look at some examples. On the left here, I have color code stars on an HR diagram based on their spectral class using a rainbow palette. This is what the user provides ChatGaia, and it is able to write this query. Now, reading all the column names in the file I provided it, it's able to find that in astrophysical parameters, there's a spectral type column that it can use for this problem. So it queries that and joins the table all by itself. After getting the data, it is able to make this beautiful HR diagram plot where it colors by spectral class. In the next example, I ask for a beautiful plot of the Pleiades, black like the night sky, to plot the 1% brightest stars as circles, with brighter stars being larger, wider, and more opaque. Now, what's impressive about this query is that it has remembered the RA and DEC of Pleiades. It was trained on the entire internet, and so this must have shown up somewhere on the internet, and it can recall the RA and DEC from memory. And we know it's the correct RA and DEC because in this plot, we can recognize the constellation, or sorry, the cluster of Pleiades. Now, it even makes the plot like the night sky, black, like I asked, and it's able to make this beautiful color map with brighter stars being larger, whiter, more opaque. Now, as for use cases, as you see, if I wanted to make this plot myself, it sure would take me some time. So for simple research questions, where you want to get some quick data from the Gaia Archive, I believe this could be incredibly useful for researchers who know what they're doing. You can quickly ask Gaia something and read over the code that it generates to make sure it's correct, and have your data and your plots within a few minutes. I also think this could be useful for novice astronomers who are trying to learn ADQL, but ChatGaia still has persistent issues with syntax, with the content of its query and its code. And so might be potentially dangerous for students to rely too heavily on this, because there could be some errors that it writes in the code or the query that could be undetectable by students. Now, you might be impressed for how well ChatGaia works on these two examples. And perhaps that's because you've only used the free version of ChatGPT. ChatGaia is built on GPT-4, which is a much larger model that OpenAI has released, and it is, I find, much better than the free version of ChatGPT. It's really essential to use GPT-4 for these applications due to its lower rate of error. And unfortunately, it is only accessible if you have the ChatGPT Plus subscription. But if you do have ChatGPT Plus, you can access ChatGaia with this QR code, or just search up ChatGaia on Google. And you'll be able to use ChatGaia because it is accessible to anyone with this subscription. Now, in the future, we hope to not have it behind a paywall and have broader access to ChatGaia. And we also hope to expand this to other surveys, so not just Gaia, and then we'll have the Chat Astro. And also, we should be able to provide ChatGaia with thousands of different examples rather than a few to greatly increase its accuracy. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any more questions, my email is up here. And I'm so excited to see what you make with ChatGaia.